What started as content for fans turned into a front row seat to tragedy. Here are 5 of the most shocking deaths of influencers while live streaming. On August 18, 2022, in Chatsworth, Ontario, 24-year-old nurse Helen Wendy Nyabuto checked in at the Key Motel. Originally from Kenya, she had been living in Toronto for nearly 3 years. Her days were full: part-time work in a long-term care facility, nursing studies, and caring for others. But on this day, Helen was on a short break, a moment of rest between shifts. That afternoon, she decided to go live on Facebook. Her phone captured her laughter, her smile, her easy conversation with viewers. Everything seemed normal. Helen dipped underwater, resurfaced smiling. Yet the pool area was eerily still. No staff, no other guest in sight. 10 minutes into the live stream, Helen set her phone down. She walked toward the deep end of the pool. Then, without hesitation, she jumped in. Whether she misjudged the depth or overestimated her swimming ability, we may never know. Almost instantly, something was wrong. She came to the surface, gasping for air, her arms flailing in panic. Her cries echoed through the empty pool area. 2 minutes later, the water grew still. The live stream, however, continued. For more than 3 hours, her phone streamed only silence and a lifeless pool. No one came. The world outside moved on. At 5:54 p.m., 2 motel guests finally walked into view. At first, one mistook the shape in the water for a drowned poodle. Then came the hushed words, "Why is there a dead body in the pool?" The realization hit, yet neither dared to enter the water. Instead, they alerted motel staff. Emergency crews rushed in, paramedics, firefighters, police. But it was too late. Helen had been under too long. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Helen's story stretched far beyond the motel. She had moved to Canada in 2019 on a 10-year visa, sharing a Toronto home with her younger brother, Enoch. She worked tirelessly in long-term care, playing a vital role during the pandemic. Friends remembered her warmth, her dedication. Alance Nyamoaya described her as someone deeply passionate about helping others. Though she hadn't returned to Kenya since leaving, Helen's family depended on her. Her father, John Kiandi Nyabuto, said she covered school fees and supported the household. "She was helping me take care of her siblings' education," he explained. "Now that she's gone, I'm uncertain about their future." Only 2 days before her death, Helen had promised her father she'd send him a new phone. Her voice sounded normal. There were no warnings. Speculation about her mental health was quickly dismissed by her family. Her father insisted she had never shown signs of distress. He learned of her death not from officials, but from a friend. Later, Canadian authorities confirmed what happened, though their details were limited. When asked about the live stream, her father's pain was raw. "I saw the video, and it was heartbreaking. It's a terrible thing." Enoch launched a GoFundMe campaign to bring his sister's body back to Kenya. Donations poured in, more than $50,000 raised. Messages of grief and gratitude filled the page. Enoch described Helen as full of life, with a smile that lifted others. The Ontario Provincial Police concluded her death was not suspicious. Still, the live stream footage circulated online long after Facebook removed the original. The motel confirmed she had been a guest, but refused further comment. For her family, the grief was overwhelming. At just 24, Helen had been their provider, their strength, their hope. Her absence left a gaping void. She had crossed the world to build a better life, not only for herself, but for those she loved. Yet the thousands who watched her final moments online never saw that. They didn't see the devoted daughter, the caring sister, the friend with the radiant smile. That is who Helen Wendy Nyabuto truly was. In the early hours of September 8, 2024, Linda's life was about to change forever. She went into labor with her first child in Plassey, Cheshire. But this was no hospital birth. It took place in a private house owned by the Life in the Heart community under the direction of 46-year-old self-proclaimed spiritual leader Lucas S. Lucas made a striking decision. He chose to broadcast the birth live on YouTube. For him, childbirth wasn't an intimate, private moment. He saw it as a universal event, meant to be shared with the world. Linda trusted Lucas, and she trusted the group's ideology. She agreed to the live stream. But what unfolded was not spiritual. It was disturbing, and in the end, tragic. Linda delivered her baby at home. No doctors, no medical equipment, only group members, none of them trained in childbirth or emergencies. And yet, the baby was born alive. Then came an unusual decision. The group refused to cut the umbilical cord. For spiritual reasons, they insisted that mother and child remain physically connected. For 12 hours, Linda and her newborn were still bound together. As the hours passed, Linda's health began to decline, but no one called for help. Lucas insisted her symptoms were natural, part of their spiritual beliefs. He even claimed to have had a supernatural encounter. While embracing Linda, he said he saw a gray-haired entity. The entity gave him a wordless message, a chilling warning of doom for the child. To Lucas, this was a universal force within women, bringing pain and breaking harmony. But Linda wasn't experiencing a vision. She was facing a medical emergency, and still, no one acted. It wasn't until the following day that Marion, Linda's partner and the baby's father, finally contacted emergency services. By then, it was too late. Lucas later described the moment. I tried to wake her, looked into her eyes. No response. I slapped her face, and she was lifeless, like someone who'd been underwater for weeks. The group laid Linda down in the hallway. They began CPR while emergency responders gave instructions. But Linda never woke up. At the hospital, doctors confirmed she was brain dead. She was officially pronounced dead. Her baby survived, placed under medical care. The live stream showed the birth and its aftermath, but viewers saw no clear medical response. They saw a woman in pain, surrounded by people who believed they were helping her spiritually. The uncut umbilical cord exposed both mother and child to infection. As Linda's symptoms grew worse, the group misinterpreted everything. When they finally realized the severity, it was too late. Lucas refused to accept responsibility. Demons are at play, influencing our actions, he claimed. For him, the outcome was inevitable. Neighbors had long regarded the group as strange. Members were seen walking barefoot into shops. They knew the house belonged to Marion, an IT professional. He's intelligent, some said, but clearly lost his grip on reality. The group mostly kept to themselves, but their loud meetings sometimes spilled into the community, and neighbors often kept their distance. Authorities launched an investigation into Linda's death. At the center, questions of negligence. Did the group's delay cost Linda her life? Did their refusal to cut the cord contribute to her decline? And what role did Lucas S. truly play? Linda trusted those around her, but when her life was in danger, she was left without help. What was meant to be a joyful occasion ended in devastating loss. The investigation continues, and the question remains, what really went wrong that day? On July 26, 2025, in Guayaquil, Ecuador, 28-year-old TikTok creator Kayla Adriana Gonzalez Mercado went live from her home. She was hanging out with a friend and Manuel Andres Lava Lazaro, sharing drinks and laughter. To her family, Kayla was the one who always made people smile. Online, she was known as Chubby, famous for her wit and candor. The stream began like any other, but within minutes, everything changed. At first, the trio laughed, joked, and drank. Then, the mood shift. Kayla teased Manuel, who was holding a firearm. Looking into the camera, she said, "Shoot me twice, I beg you, but later, let me get drunk." She chuckled, then added, "You'll hit me in the head twice. End it in one go. I don't want to suffer two in the head." From the background, her friend's voice grew tense. "No, no." But Kayla stayed calm, calling Manuel affectionately Manuelito. Moments later, 2 gunshots rang out. The live stream cut. Kayla had been shot in the head. The phone kept recording, capturing the horrific scene. Viewers, stunned, questioned whether what they just had witnessed could possibly be real. Her friends ended the stream and rushed to her relatives' nearby home with the news. At first, the family refused to believe it. When they reached Kayla's house, the door was locked, music still playing inside. Through a small gap beneath the door, they saw her feet. They thought she was fine, still entertaining friends. But once inside, the truth was undeniable. Kayla sat slumped in the same chair from the live stream, bloodied, unresponsive. The phone still lay on the table. Later, a relative with tech skills recovered the footage. Meanwhile, Manuel Andres Lavo Lazera fled on a motorcycle. He has remained at large ever since. Local news revealed his past: 4 prior robbery convictions, distinctive tattoos, a teardrop beneath one eye, a rifle etched on his neck, symbols tied to gang culture. Kayla's family said they barely knew him, except by sight. One relative lamented that some young people admired the kind of image Manuel projected. Authorities have confirmed the manhunt is ongoing. To her audience, Kayla was more than a TikTok star. She was the youngest of 3 sisters, playful, strong-willed, with kind eyes. In her last post, she wrote, "My goal is to continue being a good woman, walking with God, and being a humble person who doesn't hurt others." Her grandmother had warned her not to go out, sensing danger. Kayla brushed it off. "If anything happens to me, I'll be buried next to my aunt." The aunt had just died 8 months earlier. Today, her family wonders if Kayla felt something coming. At first, many online doubted the video was real, but once confirmed, the impact was devastating. And this was not an isolated tragedy. Just 2 months earlier, 23-year-old influencer Valeria Marquez was live streaming at her salon in Zapan, Mexico. 2 men disguised as delivery workers entered. A gunshot ended her life instantly. Her case, too, remains under investigation. Both women had built large followings, spreading humor and light to their audiences. Both lost their lives doing what they loved, streaming live. The details around Kayla's death remain uncertain. What is certain, 2 gunshots ended her life, and her final moments unfolded before an audience that will never forget them. Manuel remains at large. Law enforcement has vowed to leave no stone unturned in their search. Kayla was not just a content creator. She was a sister, a friend, a beacon of joy. Her last moments, however, played out on the very platform where she once made the world laugh. Still watching? Then I'd bet you rather watch than be the headline of a live tragedy. Smash that like button and subscribe. In the small town of Cedartown, Georgia, on December 30th, 2016, Caitlin Nicole Davis began a live broadcast. She was 12 years old, a middle school student, and online she was known to her followers as ITZ Dolly. Standing beneath a tree in her front yard, she looked straight into the camera. She began to share her painful experiences, struggles no child should ever have to endure. What followed became one of the most disturbing events ever shared on social media, an event that raised urgent questions about child safety, online content, and mental health. Caitlin was a devoted older sister to Abigail and AJ. She had been opening her life to an online audience through blogs and videos for weeks. In her post, she spoke of family conflict, emotional struggles, and troubling allegations. Authorities had already taken notice and begun investigating her home life. She used platforms like Facebook and Live.Me to express herself. Often, she appeared crying. Often, she looked overwhelmed. In one video, she said her stepfather called her worthless, even encouraged her to harm herself. She also said he had hurt her, physically and in ways no child should ever face. Caitlin felt abandoned by her biological father. At school, she was bullied. Online, she was deceived by someone pretending to be another person. She admitted she had researched ways to harm herself. She had even been hospitalized after earlier attempts. Just days before the live stream, she posted images of self-harm and wrote about being in pain. Yet at the same time, she also left supportive messages for others going through similar struggles. On December 30th, she went live for a 42-minute stream that would tragically become her last. She spoke about the trauma she had endured. She said goodbye. Using a bucket to climb, she tied a rope around her neck, and in front of her audience, she ended her life. The stream did not stop. For nearly 20 minutes after her final moments, the camera continued to broadcast. A woman, likely a family member, can be heard in the background calling her name. But it was already too late. Astonishingly, the video wasn't reported immediately. It was first seen by a police officer in California. Only then were authorities in Georgia alerted. Polk County Police rushed to Caitlin's home and took her to Polk Medical Center. But by then, she had already passed away. What happened after made everything worse. Despite its disturbing nature, the video was widely shared. Some said they shared it to raise awareness. Others admitted it was curiosity. And thousands more viewed it out of shock. The full video spread on YouTube and Facebook, gaining tens of thousands of views. Some platforms took it down. Others left it up. Some even profited from it. Polk County Police Chief Kenny Dodd said the department asked websites to remove the video, but there was no law forcing them to comply. "It's just a decent thing to do," he said. Mental health and child protection organizations stepped in. The MPCC said platforms should be required to remove such content immediately. Young Minds, a youth mental health group, said the case showed how urgently new safety laws were needed. Dr. Mark Bush from Young Minds called on tech companies to act faster and to work closely with child protection groups. Just 3 days before her death, Caitlin wrote a blog entry. She said, "It hurts. Everywhere hurts. My heart, my soul, my feelings, my body." Police confirmed they had already begun investigating her allegations before the live stream. Her autopsy was handled by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, though the results were never made public. In the aftermath, Caitlin's case gained international attention. It fueled support for the UK's Digital Economy Bill, which demanded stricter rules for social platforms. Her story reached far beyond Cedartown. It touched people all over the world. YouTube eventually removed the video. Facebook said it was still working to delete remaining copies. Live.Me made no public comment. Caitlin's family lost more than a daughter. They lost their privacy. Even today, the video still exists online. She was 12 years old, a girl who tried to speak up, who asked for help, who shared her pain. But no one reached her in time. On January 15, 2023, Yeti Airlines Flight 691 took off from Kathmandu. Its destination, Pokhara, a popular tourist city in Nepal, famous for its mountain vistas. It was a routine 27-minute journey. On board were 72 people, 68 passengers and 4 crew members. Among them, 4 friends from Ghazipur, Uttar Pradesh, India, Sanu Jaiswal, Anil Rajbar, Vishal Shamar, and Abhishek Singh Kushwaha. Sanu Jaswal, 29 years old and father of 3, was especially excited. He had come with his friends to explore Nepal's temples and natural beauty. As the plane descended towards Pokhara, he began a Facebook live stream. At first, the footage showed green fields and distant mountains. Sonu smiled. His friends laughed. One voice said, "It's real fun." But less than a minute later, everything changed. The plane tilted suddenly. The camera shook. Passengers screamed. A loud sound erupted. Then, the screen went black. Flames, smoke, and silence. The live stream continued, but life had vanished from the frame. The aircraft was a 15-year-old ATR-72 twin-engine plane. At 10:50 a.m., the crew made their last contact with the control tower. The weather was clear, calm, no warning of disaster. Less than 2 kilometers from the runway, the plane banked left and dove sharply into the Seti River Gorge. Locals saw the descent. From his rooftop, Kum Bahadur Chetri watched the plane shake mid-air, then plunge. Another eyewitness, Arun Tamu, rushed to the scene. He found the wreckage split into 2, one half on the hillside, the other deep inside the gorge. Rescue teams arrived quickly, but the terrain was steep and flames raged. Bishnu Tawari, a local helper, said he heard cries for help. Thick smoke and fire kept them out of reach. Images soon spread online. Black smoke, twisted metal, scattered wreckage. Soldiers, volunteers, and emergency crews worked tirelessly. By the following day, 63 victims had been recovered. At Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu, families waited in anguish. In Ghazipur, the relatives of the 4 Indian friends struggled with shock. Sonu's father, Rajada Prasad Jaswal, said he could not bear to watch the footage. Anil Rajbar's father remembered how his son had left quietly, packing while he worked in the fields. The crash became Nepal's deadliest aviation disaster since 1992, when a Pakistan International Airlines flight killed 167 people near Kathmandu. All 72 on board were presumed dead, including 6 children and 2 infants. Among them were 15 foreign nationals, 5 Indians, 4 Russians, 2 South Koreans, and 1 each from Argentina, Ireland, France, and Australia. One victim was Russian travel blogger Elena Banduro. Just before boarding, she had posted, "Go to Nepal." Nepal's prime minister ordered an investigation and declared January 16th a national day of mourning. Crews searched the 300-meter gorge late into the night. 2 passengers were pulled out alive, but both later died from their injuries. Experts pointed to a possible technical problem with the propeller system. The plane's age, they argued, was likely not the main factor. But Nepal's aviation safety record already carried deep scars. Challenging terrain, rapidly changing weather, limited pilot training, substandard maintenance. All of these had plagued the country's aviation industry. Since 2013, Nepalese airlines have been banned from flying in the European Union. Back in India, the government offered aid to the victim's family and helped arrange their travel to Nepal. The 4 friends had arrived on January 13th, planned to visit a temple and go paragliding in Pokhara before returning home by train. Instead, they became part of one of Nepal's most devastating air disasters. Sonu's video stands as a rare, chilling real-time capture of a tragedy. Flight data and GPS tracking later confirmed its authenticity. But for the families, the footage is not evidence. It's a wound, a last glimpse of their loved ones. In airports and villages, grief hung in the air. Some sat quietly, others wept. Many simply stared at their phones, replaying the final moments of 4 young men, full of life, suddenly gone. Click on the next video to see more shocking videos.